They say opposites attract.
Well, how about these opposites? Daddies and sons.
You're listening to Daddy and Son.
A podcast where we explore the dynamics of daddy and son relationships, multi-generational views,
and everything else in between.
Welcome back, ladies and gents,
Welcome back.
to our secular show, Daddy and Son. Back with us this week is everyone's favorite daddy.
Daddy Norm. Hello,
yes,
everybody.
He's back.
Where am I back from? You're the one that's back. What do you
Well,
mean?
you
were the one that went away.
I did go away, but I'm pretty sure you did your own little adventures while I was away too.
I have little adventures, but they're not, at 35,000 feet.
Did you have any fun moments to kick off the beginning of summer? The beginning of June? Flag month?
Flag month, yes. Well, no, because my bike is in the shop.
Oh, what happened?
No, the brakes are buggered up.
Huh.
Yeah. So anyway,
Isn't the bike just a year old? Clearly you're not riding it that hard.
It's under warranty. They've had complaints. Anyway, I won't mention the brand because I don't want to disparage the manufacturer. Otherwise, it's a great bike and great to do it this time of year, isn't it?
No, you're not going to call names?
Trek. Trek.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No, we don't support that. We don't do that.
No.
That is very unfortunate. Why are you growling? There's nothing there for you.
So, what are we drinking today?
Good question. I decided to go with a summer classic. With the heat outside, I am doing today a spicy margarita.
Oh, it is delicious.
So what we have here is thank you for bringing in the tequila blanco.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, with some fresh lime juice, that's what you saw me over there squeezing the daylight out of. And
Because it wasn't high quality limes, but we digress.
yeah, we guys, don't get your limes from No Frills. I'm sorry. No Frills is where you go for your canned produce and your quick fixes. But for fresh produce, support your local farmer. Small batch farmers markets. Shout out to the farmers market across the street.
That's right. We'll be open tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
Shout out to them.
One of the best markets in North America, by the way.
Allegedly. It's even better you think it's better than the one at Brickworks?
Oh, yeah. No, it's one of the top 3.
Huh. All right.
It's been rated as the St. Lawrence Market. Yeah, no, it's huge. Okay.
Well, I don't dispute it. It's quite something. I'm gonna take my guest there tomorrow.
Oh, good. Oh,
Yeah.
I might see you there.
I'm gonna take because you go at an ungodly hour when I'm not awake.
I'm there in the morning.
And I
Early
am
morning.
there in the late morning.
Oh, yes.
Because I wake up at 11 a.m.
Oh, my God. I'm cooking dinner at that point.
I was watching Sex and the City, the new show, and they were talking about the grandfather was visiting. So they were like, he has to eat early. What time does he have dinner? The daughter says 5 p.m. The wife turns to the husband and says 5 p.m. is not dinner. That's late lunch. And I was like, finally, people I can relate to on TV. Because
Now, you said Sex in the City, a new show.
yeah, it's called And Just Like That. It's like
Continuation of- okay.
of the main show, Sex in the City.
Okay, got it.
But yeah, that's why I decided to go with a classic margarita, but give it a little kick with tahini and
kicking.
jalapeno.
Jalapeno at the top, please avoid.
Because we have this hot summer heat outside, so we need this nice refreshing drink to cool us down.
Well, it will be hot on Pride Sunday in 2 days.
Nice and hot. We welcome that, and
It always is, you know. We always get really
usually
good.
gets rainy though.
Last year, 1 year before,
It was rainy.
sunny
This is
and
the first year there's gonna be full sunshine
30 Celsius.
in a while.
That's 84 degrees for you folks that
So-
still use Fahrenheit.
All you fairies out there, please wear your sun protection. Bring an umbrella and stay
protection of any-
hydrated.
and protection of any other kind you may require.
Have all the protections.
Yes.
And stay hydrated properly. Not just the type of hydration you get when you're on your knees.
Bring protection and don't forget to put suntan lotion on. Anyway,
So,
okay, enough of that.
so for today's topic, I wanted to discuss something quite some time, and this is around the police officer in NYPD. Who she's kind of like a video vixen, and the internet kind of went crazy about that. Have you heard about this?
Repeat, please.
A police officer in the NYPD,
Yeah.
who is a video vixen, who people found out about that
A video what?
video vixen.
Okay, now, for us, some of us daddies don't know these terms. Could you elaborate? If you were on CNN, the moderator would say, could you expand on that term a bit for the benefit of people at home that don't know what it is? What's a video vixen?
A video vixen is like that's typically like the type of chick who is
Attracts the camera?
yeah.
Okay.
She's the it girl in the music videos that are
Okay.
the ones
Okay.
that are featured with the male artists and they're
Okay.
dancing.
So
and
she
they're doing
becomes
the
identified with that. Okay.
Correct.
All right, I got it now.
and she's doing the most.
You know, it's when you start to explain things, the light turns on in my head. Isn't that amazing? Daddies do get it eventually. They just have to hear their sons start to articulate it, and bingo.
Right?
You know, it was in there somewhere. So this person was was out there in the public realm, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
And let me tell you a little bit more about her because
Yeah.
I'm.
Does she have a name?
You may not have heard. So this NYPD officer that I'm referring to, her name is Detective Melissa Mercado.
Okay.
Right? So she made headlines after appearing in a pole dancing scene in a lingerie style outfit. Like her ass cheeks were out and clapping. You know, they say
This
to protect.
rings a bell.
Okay, good.
I think I have.
Because it made national news.
Yeah, it's starting to ring a bell. Okay.
You know,
I just
and
hadn't heard the word vixen before.
I think
but-
the name of the artist was D Square. Or, sorry, no, that's a designer. Esquire. That was his name, Esquire. And name of the rap video that he was in is Doing That. So she joined the NYPD back in 2018, and she serves. And I mean, she serves, you know, depending on who you're talking to, she was serving, honey. And then Brown's Special Victims Unit. And, you know, people obviously started breaking down her career and obviously looking back into her off-duty activities as a video vixen.
I see. And casting aspersions on her capability and credibility as an officer
Her
of the law.
credibility for sure.
Yeah.
In fact, during interviews on the news, there were some colleagues who voiced disapproval, calling it unbecoming and asking for her to resign or to be fired.
I think she should be fired. Nobody like that belongs in New York.
Apparently.
No.
New York, of all places.
Yeah.
And others were defending her freedom, stating that her off-duty life is her own business as long as she's filing necessary paperwork. And, you know, she wasn't wearing her uniform. So...
And wasn't doing anything that was really, doesn't sound like, it was not particularly contrary to police activity.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, she's out in the community having fun.
And as, you know, someone who has been in the workforce for quite some time, and for someone who definitely knows what it's like to hire and dismiss employees. I kind of, in your role as executive director, I kind of wanted to know your take on this. I think this has multiple layers, not just the layer of women or just people in general having to battle in a time where obviously a full-time job is not enough, but of course what happens when you are doing multiple jobs but one job's moralities or ethics clashes with the next one, something that I'm sure a lot of gays today, especially young gays, millennial gays, struggle with. So that's kind of what we're going to get into today. We're just going to take a quick break, and then we will start jump into today's pod. So, I want to have your opinion candidly. Let's talk. In this day and age, I kind of find it hypocritical when we have a felon as the president of the United States, somebody who is twice impeached with 34 counts of felonies, being the head of the free world. Emphasis on the free. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't see this, but Norm is like raising his eyebrows and
only
and
because
his head.
he keeps winning at the Supreme Court of the United States. So whatever bad he's got associated with his name, the bugger keeps winning on the legal front. So it's really hard to sort of see him as what's the word?
As a felon?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any difference. He was indicted. And he was convicted.
True.
Right? So nobody can ever take that away. Even he can't pardon himself for those state count felonies in New York. But because you can only pardon federal crimes.
He's getting thrown in the clink when he's out, but that's another issue. So go ahead with your question.
But don't you find it hypocritical when younger people are held to a different standard? Especially in a time like this, where you and I have discussed this, the minimum amount that someone needs to live on in a country like,
Canada?
Not a country, in a city like Toronto or even a city like New York, is like $5,000 a month. Anybody can tell you Toronto rent and New York rent.
That's after tax.
And that's after tax.
Yeah, so you're talking at least $80,000 a year gross. Yeah.
Expensive.
Yeah.
And most of these jobs don't pay that well, especially civil servant jobs like that. They're probably earning $70,000 to $90,000.
In this case, the lady who's the police.
The lady who is a police officer.
So she was earning extra money doing this videoing and
doing music videos. Rap music videos. And remember, it's not porn, it's just a music video, but she's scantily dressed, as most women are in rap music videos.
So my question is, where was the criticism of her off regular work activity coming from? Was it coming from the police higher-ups? Was it coming from
it was coming from both the community and police alike. Granted, to the best of my knowledge, I tried doing some research. Yeah. She was not dismissed, so she wasn't fired.
Okay, she just attracted some criticism.
I haven't seen her in any music videos since that controversial one.
I see. So they used her pension-paying job as leverage to say, cut out the other stuff, hun, or you're out of here.
I was really surprised how many people on the internet, because I saw so many discussions on Reddit, I was really surprised how many people were saying that she should, as a police officer, they saw it as unethical that she was also dancing in bikini in a music video.
What are these people, Southern Baptists? Like, really? I mean, this is a person that's potentially representing law and order and police community relations out where she
Remember,
should be.
she works in she's a detective in the SVU unit.
Special Victims Unit.
Yeah.
Well,
which means that she probably worked with domestic violence people.
It means she's always working, is what it means.
She works with children.
Yeah.
The way I see it is, this is part of the reason, and I had this conversation with a friend of mine in the UK recently, who is a diehard conservative, and I was saying to him that it was around when I messaged you around the beer store stuff, because the beer store, you saw, they closed 30 plus location and over 60,000 people lost their job because of it. And I said, I saw this coming. I knew that the moment we allowed big box stores and corner shops to start selling alcohol, particularly like beer and ciders and stuff like that, eventually what would happen is people won't need to go to the LCB, or people won't need to go to the beer store. And people were saying, oh, it's going to drive competition. And I'm like, no, it's not going to drive competition. I mean, yes, it will drive competition. It will. Because two things can exist at the same time. But eventually what will happen is that people who were in these jobs, the LCB or beer store, that were unionized jobs with benefits, they get pushed out. And now these corner stores, these gas stations, these other big box stores,
Costco,
who maybe, with the exception of Costco, because Costco is just one of the many, who don't have unions, who don't give benefits, who don't pay well, right?
They don't.
A lot of these stores, they don't. They pay at minimum wage.
But as a consumer, and if I can get something for less money and it's more available, isn't that a good thing?
But who said it was less money?
Well, it's not less money. It's probably about the same.
It is literally about the same. And in some cases, which I found with Costco, some of the wines are even more expensive. Because by the time you add the tax on, it's more expensive. But remember, when you see prices for stuff at the beer store, the LCBO, the final price is the final price.
And it's not that case at Costco, or is it?
No, it's not the case.
Sometimes it is.
There are literally wines that I would see at
and they had on 13%.
That it is at least 13 to 15% more expensive at Costco. Right? It's the convenience.
You're paying for the convenience.
You're paying for the convenience.
I'm getting down on Costco, by the way. I'm starting to not find things there that I normally have been finding there.
Yeah.
And for those of you that care, they've changed the way they market their eggs. I'm not buying eggs at Costco anymore. Why we're talking about this, I don't know. But just since we brought up Costco.
Well, I brought that up to say that when we literally take away people's mode of living, people's method of living, especially in such an expensive city such as Toronto, and we say, okay, but why should we as the people be subsidizing someone's life? It's not subsidizing someone's life if a government worker is paid a fair wage and benefit. One can argue that, okay, if you work at the beer store, you're not doing something that, you necessarily need a degree for. But it is still labor intensive. How many people who have a degree use their degree for their job? I know, show of hands, I didn't use my degree for my job.
No?
No. Remember, my bachelor's is in chemistry. And I don't work in chemistry.
But you learned work habits, you learned the importance of discipline and study and things like that.
And people can do that without going to college. And the irony of it is the person who I was speaking to does not have a college degree.
So where are we going with this discussion?
So where I'm going with this is when we take away people's ability to live, then they have to get multiple jobs for a job that they usually are able to have one job and still and live comfortably.
We don't know why this New York detective did that. She may just love doing this stuff too.
Well, she may love doing it, but we do know how much her salary was. It was $77,000 annually.
And where she probably didn't live in Manhattan. She lived out in Queens or in Brooklyn or something.
Right? But those places are still just as expensive.
Of course, Javi, it's New York.
It's still just as expensive. I live in Toronto and I have to have a full-time job, a part-time job, and a side hustle to get by just to be comfortable.
I just have a part-time job.
But you're a pensioner.
Oh, that's
Stop
right.
flexing.
Sorry, I forgot. Yes.
And you're from a time, Boomer, where, mommy and daddy would have a nuclear household. Mommy would stay home and cook, and daddy would go off to work, and daddy was just a postman, and he could still buy a house, come home with the bread and the bacon, and raise a 3-children household. We can't do that in 2025.
No, the times have changed.
The times have changed. Yeah. I find it damaging and damning that we are so lost and out of touch and overly critical of people who are just trying to make ends meet when we...
I'm not critical of them.
Well, not you, but the internet at large.
I empathize. I mean, I see a lot of struggling. I see a lot of young people, particularly young people, but, there's even families of 3 that are struggling.
Yeah.
And it's a function of, the economy isn't so hot, the city's expensive, there's a lot of people that are coming here, maybe too many. We've just got an imbalance of...
Especially sanctuary cities like Toronto and New York, even though we don't use the term sanctuary city in Canada, but you know what I mean. We've the highest amount of immigrants.
Yeah, we track it because
in all of Canada.
Yeah, we do. And you arrive in Toronto, and you fly into Toronto and you fly into Winnipeg. You can tell you're in a very different city when you go to Winnipeg.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot more white in Winnipeg than in Toronto.
There's a lot less diversity.
That's a good way of putting it. That's why I like Toronto better.
And
we know that
we know
I like white cars.
You like white cars, but you like your boys with melanin. I just generally think that we have caused this. We've caused this. We as a society have caused this. And we don't realize that, we are being overly critical of the common man who is out here just trying to put food on the table. The person that we really should be critical and angry with is the oligarchs. It's the people who raise the prices so that they can buy an extra yacht. While the rest of us who are squabbling against each other and saying, why should we subsidize? Why should we do this for the next person? It's the person that is in the same boat as you.
To use the analogy of the yacht, yes.
But not being critical of the person who is taking advantage of capitalism, but not giving back to the community in a meaningful way. And when I say in a meaningful way, I'm speaking about impact. Because you can say, yes, I'm an employer, but you're a shitty employer. You give no benefits, but your pay is terrible, and you have people work way too many hours.
But hold on. There are some, you call them oligarchs.
And your wage isn't matching up to inflation.
I've watched you over the last 2 or 3 years. You've been a good friend, but your politics have definitely gone way, way, way over on the left-hand side of the margin.
Well, because
we're almost running out of paper here.
because I believe that people should. I disagree. I actually think that I'm very old school conservative more than anything. I think my values are very traditional conservative value. I believe in small government. I believe that people should be able to afford to live where they live. I believe in competition. I believe
there's no right to afford anything.
But I also believe in
there's a right to
human rights.
Sure, but there's a right to have the freedom to pursue your career and your vocation.
Yeah.
And if you can't do it where you're at, you do struggle.
Yeah.
Or you go somewhere else. Unfortunately, right now, and the world, what's changed is
right
there's
now
way
is
more
that
competition
the
internationally.
people on the right of the aisle now don't believe in helping the smaller man come up. We don't believe in giving them an opportunity.
Look.
Old school conservatives didn't believe in handouts, but we definitely do believe in giving people tools and opportunities to help themselves. Now what we're doing is taking away all the tools and all the opportunities that people could even use to help themselves. It is a different time. It is a completely different time.
There was a executive that I forgot the name of the company. He just gave $50 million to St. Joseph's Hospital. Mm-hmm. This man's been giving money away all his life. He's a Canadian billionaire. Forget the bloody industry he's in. There's a person that, wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's going above and beyond.
Yes, and don't get me wrong. I'm not speaking on behalf of all business conservatives. I'm not speaking about all CEOs, right? They all aren't evil. They all aren't.
But they do like protecting their turf.
And I'll give a common example. How do you have someone, I'll forgive me because I know you and I are at odds with this, but I'll use Brian Thompson as an example.
Brian Thompson?
Yes, the CEO of United Health that got shot by
Okay, yep.
How do you have a 300% increase in your salary? How are you making $250 million in salary?
It's gross, eh?
But have a 92% denial rate. 92%. This was featured in Forbes, on BBC. You can look this up.
It's crazy.
How do you have a 92%?
That's egregious.
It's egregious.
Yeah.
It is dark. It is demonic that you can literally take people's money
and not return it. When they need it for a justified. Listen, it's funny, the stories I've been seeing, the victims of the California fires early in the year. The insurance companies are...
What did you just say? What?
The California fires.
But when did you say it happened?
Earlier this year.
Oh, okay. I thought you said last year.
No, earlier this year.
It's hard to believe that was already this year, doesn't it?
I know, and the insurance companies are being bastards about paying up.
Yeah.
They're undercutting the value of the properties. In one case, they were continually changing adjusters to stall people. And, they're just not owning up to their end of the bargain. That pisses me off.
And this is where I believe that while it is that we should have less government interference in things, when it comes on to people being able to live, there are just certain things like people's health that I do not believe should ever be privatized. I just don't believe it. These things need to be regulated.
They sure are regulated.
They need to have further oversight. And people need to be able to be given the handout that is necessary, that they've paid into, whether that is Social Security or that is insurance. People deserve to get the help when they need it.
Well, in theory, in Canada, we do. The problem is we don't have enough people in the medical system, or it's not efficient enough to process and handle all the people that need it.
Well, that is true, but that is also a crisis of our own manufacturing.
Well, let me ask you a question. So then, would you think that it's wrong for someone to have a private health subscription where they can go to a doctor and get medical services on fairly short notice because they belong to a organization that contracts with those physicians, such as MedCan? I belong to MedCan. I pay a yearly fee. Mm-hmm. I can usually get a doctor appointment within a day.
I don't belong to MedCan, and I can get a doctor's appointment within a day too.
Okay, so there's no advantage to the private care in that case.
I personally,
I don't have a doctor that can do that.
I personally do not believe that, and this is that there's any. This is me and based on my experience. If I were supposed to, and it's not that right now I can't afford to, but there's no purpose for me getting into private healthcare because my family doctor is.
You get the care, but you have a family doctor.
I get the care that I need with my family doctor.
Okay, well, not everybody even has a family doctor,
But-
and the ones that do often have to wait to get to see him. I know I can't, very rarely.
So again, this is where I believe that this is a crisis that we've manufactured for ourselves, because doctors are considered as civil servants in Canada. They are paid by the government. They're not private. They're not privately paid, right? And there's a cap on how much a doctor can make based on their credentials in Canada. My issue is if other civil servants like army men, police officers, firefighters go into their profession, are paid while they're training for their profession, and their training is paid for by taxpayers' dollars, as long as they showed aptitude, because they have to do tests, to both physical and written exams to go into the police force or to do these things. Why or to go into the brigade? Sorry. Why is it that doctors and nurses and other members of the medical colleges are treated differently?
You mean not paid for?
They're not paid for.
What about when they're doing an internship?
And imagine
they're paid during the internship, are they not?
when they do their. You mean when they do their fellowship, their residencies?
Residency, yeah.
No, they're not. They're not. Remember, my ex.
I had no idea that was the case.
Yeah.
I would assume anybody, like when I went for some medical care a few months ago, I'm sure there was a regular doctor. And I'm sure there were students there. I assume they were being paid.
No, they don't. They're not paid.
Well,
and this is part of the reason I believe that we've set up a system. I actually have a friend, one of my Zumba students, her daughter, all her life said she wanted to be a doctor.
yeah.
The moment she realized how much debt she would be in to go to medical school, she changed her mind and she's now studying accounting. Said, I don't want to be a doctor anymore. I want to be an accountant.
I don't blame her. It's too. I mean, it's nuts. You come out with $100,000.
And as you know, as I've dated doctors before who
are they still paying off loans?
They're still paying off loans. And when I was dating that particular person, they were still in med school. And all they could afford to eat was craft dinner. Imagine being a medical student where you're supposed to be pushing proper nutrition onto your patients, and every day you're going home to eating chicken nuggets and mac and cheese.
Shame.
Because that's the best you can afford. We've created this crisis for ourselves. There are just certain things I genuinely believe that capitalism has no place. Healthcare is one of those things. Water is one of those things.
Well, comrade, let me ask you, what would you do about it? The healthcare system, that's a huge topic. I thought we were going to talk about careers and mixing your career and balanced life and stuff like that.
We've digressed, but we're still on it. We're still on it because all this, it's one big circle of life, Simba. Mm-hmm. It's one big circle of life because what we are doing, and again, it is criticizing people for finding ways to make up the purse.
Well, I don't think most people are critical of that. I think people admire it.
Norm, you would be shocked.
Well, they should shut their mouths.
And I keep telling you that you live in a bubble.
No, I don't. I just look at things like, hey, if you're working your butt off to
You don't think you live in a bubble?
Look, we all live in a bubble of some kind. We live in the bubble of our own perspective.
Yeah, that's true.
You're asking me, what do I think of people that are working hard to pay for their rent and bring up their families? more power to them. I know it's a struggle right now.
Yeah.
We all know that, and they talk about that on the news. The governments are trying to do something about it, but we're up against a president that now just cut off trade discussions with Canada. This is going to screw us for a long time. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're struggling right now, and anybody that's trying to overcome that, more power to them.
I genuinely believe that people have the right to be, and again, going back to conservative principles, I genuinely believe that people have the right to do what they need to do as long as they're not being criminals.
By that, sure.
As long as they're not hurting anyone. As long as they're not harming anyone or themselves. People have the right to do what they want to do. To put bread
on their table. So a shout out to the police captain in the SVU unit in whatever part of New York City it is.
Detective Melissa Mercado.
Melissa, keep going. Come to Toronto and do a show.
Keep serving, keep shaking that ass, keep swinging on that pole, because guess what?
Pride 26 is coming up, and you just might get a float for yourself.
The gays are rooting for you. We're all rooting for you.
Now, I wonder if she's in the parade. I wonder if she's in the Pride Parade in New York. Their parade is this weekend,
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised.
Well, you were in the Pride Parade in Portsmouth as a visitor.
That was UK Pride.
Yeah, UK Pride.
Yeah, it was so fun. It was so fun. I would love to see a world, and it's so ironic because I kind of feel like Democrats right now. You see how the Republican Party was actually the party that had the Democratic, and I say this in air quotes, the Democratic value of yesteryear, and the way how things have flipped.
Yeah.
The Republican Party is the party.
Are the haves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like it's so ironic because, and this is what I've always said, words have meaning. Mm-hmm. Words have meaning.
They sure do.
Because people will take things and bastardize the words, whether that's words like woke or words like socialist. People will bastardize things. And I realize the Republican Party, because right now, the current administration, they're not politicians. They're television producers.
Yeah, they're Fox News people.
And they're apprentices and all that. They're reality TV show people, and they are running the U.S. government like a reality TV show.
I had a discussion back and forth with a friend of mine in Washington this morning.
Oh?
And let me just find the... he works for the NIH.
What's that?
National Institute of Health.
Okay.
In D.C. He lives in Virginia. He lives in Maryland, but he works in D.C. And he's worked there for at least 10 years. And the NIH, this is what Kennedy is heading up, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and the guy that doesn't like vaccines and all this. So I said to him a week or two ago, I said, "Good morning, Ron. How are you doing? FYI." Last week I said, "What's going on in your country?" I didn't get any response. So the other day I said, "Hey, good morning. You should have a listen to The Daily," which is the New York Times podcast. They're talking about the funding cuts at NIH. So there's research funding cuts. Mm-hmm. And he said today, "Good morning." I said, "Good morning." And then I said, "Good morning, Ron. How are you doing? These are interesting times, aren't they?" And his response was, "Good morning, Norm. I've given up on our political system to do the right thing. What will happen will happen." That's a really sad comment, because people down there are just saying, well, the ones who don't support Trump, WTF am I going to do about it?
Yeah,
I'm powerless.
Everyone feels like they're walking around with their cocks out right now.
Or something else if you're female. But I get your point. They are powerless.
They have
nothing else to offer.
And this is pretty much how I feel at this time, to be honest. It's ironic because just in theme as with what I was discussing with our guest last week, I said right now, in this political climate, I just feel Like it's the calm before the storm.
Ooh,
And
that's scary.
I've become so desensitized to the point where I'm just like, I'm no longer scared. I just
Don't
feel
become desensitized, please.
I just feel defeated.
See, that's we can't allow that to fester.
I've just been drinking the good wine every day because I'm like, fuck it. I'm about to die at any moment now because, the U.S. keeps poking the bear and we may just get a nuke someday. So at any random moment. So might as well. Because if I don't drink it when I die, it's not going to go in the casket with me. So it sounds dark.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I'm just going to enjoy life right now because everything that is happening right now in the North American political climate is completely effed.
And the truth is,
raw and royally.
Well, this world is heading towards its finale.
I think so. I genuinely think so. People keep saying we need to stop talking about World War III because it's never going to happen. And I say, not talking about something or covering your ears and not having a conversation about it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Doesn't mean it's never going to happen. Just like I say to people, not addressing the elephant in the room when you have a gay son or a gay nephew and not talking about, don't say gay doesn't mean that you're going to stop being gay. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean they're going to stop liking dick and taking ass and sucking cock. They're still going to be doing it because that is what they're wired to do. They're wired to do. Have the conversations. Maybe if we spoke about things more often, we wouldn't have had a criminal in the White House.
Or he wouldn't have had a show on TV either.
People take freedoms for granted. And again, going back to what I was saying earlier, criticize the wrong things. People are just trying to exist. People are just trying to get by. And these people exist in all different shapes and forms, sexes, sexuality, genders, and job positions.
Well,
it could be your doctor. It could be your nurse. It could be your teacher, especially school teachers. People keep talking about how, school teachers shouldn't be allowed to have an OnlyFans. But yet still, they're one of the lowest paid civil servants.
An OnlyFans, that's where you raise money for other things? Or this is the generational divide here, I know.
Do you think OnlyFans is a GoFundMe?
I'm not sure what it is. I've heard of it before. I don't.
It's a place where people go. It's kind of like you'll go and you do like a live show and you may, cook or show your feet or have sex or strip naked or do yoga.
It's like a YouTube for me. Is it? What is it?
But it's a subscription base.
Oh.
And you can give donations. Oh. Well, not donations. You can give tips.
Yeah.
While the person's live, while they're doing whatever activities that you're doing.
So it's kind of like a drag show where you go up and slip a dollar bill inside the person's.
Yes, but virtual.
Yes, a virtual show. I see. Everything is virtual these days.
I hope
Dolly.
I described that right.
It sounded pretty convincing. No, I get the point.
And teachers are highly underpaid, but yet still, we still have a high value on teachers. We hold teachers up to such strong ethics, but we don't want to pay them.
Yeah, well.
But yet still, somebody who dribbles a ball for a living is paid millions of dollars.
Why? Because a lot more people are interested in watching that person perform. But I know it's stupid. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. But
guess what?
Why
does that bother you? Because
I believe
you just don't pay any attention to it.
It bothers me because I believe that I genuinely believe that there's enough money for us all to go around.
You are a true. You're a socialist.
I'm not a socialist.
Yes, you are. You're a socialist.
I still believe that people who dribble balls should make millions, but I also believe that people who teach people how to dribble balls should also make millions. People who look after our children, we can't say we are the party of family values and children and we don't put anything in place to build up the family, to build up the children. We can't have it both ways. That's not Marxist at all.
Ladies and gentlemen, this political discourse is coming to you live from Canada, which is still a democracy. Although Mr. Trump is working
for
on
now.
it. Yes, he's working on it. 3.5 more years of this asshole. But anyway.
I literally just cannot believe it's only been 5 months. Almost 6. I cannot believe it.
Yeah, well.
So much has happened.
We're assuming, he's alive for that time. But things could change. Or that the economy. You see, the big threat for the United States is they're going broke. We'll talk about that sometime. They're going broke.
Well, I'll leave it to... Let's discuss that next week. I'll leave it to produce that.
Well, one topic I do want to talk about at some point is role reversal. When sons like to be called daddies and daddies
I was
like
how does that have to do with the U.S. going broke? But okay.
It does not. It's a totally different topic.
Okay. No worries. But anyhow...
And an invitation to our listeners to bring us more ideas of what you want us to talk about.
Well, we get a lot of, I don't know if you do, but I get a lot of comments in my DMs.
You don't send it to me.
Oh, because sometimes I get things in the inbox for the show, and sometimes I get things.
Should I be checking the inbox?
In my personal DMs?
Should I be I can check the inbox, right?
I haven't seen anything in the inbox in a while.
Okay, well,
it's usually in my DMs from people who listen to the show on Instagram or people who listen to the show on Discord. And some of them I know, some of them I don't know.
Well, I did get a comment on one live app, and they said, "Hey, that's pretty cool. I like your show."
Well, one of the things that I appreciate is when I get criticisms. Mm-hmm. I appreciate the
criticisms are good.
I appreciate the criticisms. Yep. But you know what? I would like people to remember that we're still a young show. We're still finding our footing, and we're still finding our groove. Yeah. And we're doing this here because we're two friends who like to come together, have a drink, and have a chat.
And we agree, and we talk our minds too.
We talk our minds. We talk about what's going on. We talk about how we feel about what's going on. And sometimes, if I'm producing, I like to talk about things that people generally don't necessarily think about, but I think should be food for thought. Yes. Now, when people are being fired or put on leave for their job, because it interferes with their second job. And again, generally, I just believe that as a society, we need to allow and give grace.
Grace, very important.
We need to give grace to people to be able to live the life that they all deserve to live. We're going to take a quick break, refresh our drinks, and we're going to be right back.
Oh, please no, that jalapeno is... I must have tasted it, and my mouth is on fire right now. And the only time that usually happens is, no, this is a family show. I won't say it.
So I was going to do a listener letter today, but I think I'll save it for next week.
Oh.
That's okay. I want to close this out because we are right on schedule, and I want to keep us at the 50-minute mark.
Do people still send letters?
People send letters.
Wow. Good. Yeah. We love letters.
People send letters. I have a question for you before we close out.
Uh-oh.
What? No, nothing
yes,
serious.
Your Honor, I plead guilty.
What are you planning to do that's prideful this weekend? The last, the ring of the last of Flag Month.
I haven't thought about that. I'll be myself.
You said, know what? I think you mentioned earlier about wandering the streets.
Well, sure. You go up Church Street, and you on Friday nights, which is this evening, It's before the busy of Sunday. I like the less busy part of Pride. And
I
it's
didn't
fun.
even know vendors were already out with their booths.
Oh, yeah, they're up Thursday nights.
Oh, wow.
See, the advantage I can sit on my balcony and listen to I can hear the music.
Yeah, because you're right in the thick of it.
I'm not too far away. So a little bit of Pride is good for me, but when it goes on all weekend until 11 o'clock Sunday night, by 11 o'clock Sunday night, I think, oh, thank God it's all over now.
Your age is showing.
Well, it's not showing, but it is there. But it is a fun time, and, it's going to be great weather, and we should all have fun.
Any recommendations for people visiting from out of town?
Be yourself. Don't be inhibited. You can relax and be yourself here.
I like that. My recommendation is protect yourself. Bring all the protection. Take your PrEP. Take your Doxy PrEP. Use your sunscreen.
Watch your cell phone.
Watch your
The
cell
cops have been talking about that.
Yeah. Stay hydrated.
Yes.
Put on, just have fun, but have fun in the safest way you possibly can.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. All right. Shall I read us out?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to today's episode. If you've made it all the way to the end, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Daddy and Son Podcast. That's at Daddy and Son Podcast. If you have any questions for the show, send them over to daddyandsonpodcast@gmail.com. That's DADDYANDSON podcast@gmail.com, and let Daddy know what questions you have for him. Until next time, sons, be good to your daddies.
Daddies, be kind to your sons.
Bye for now, and happy Pride.
Happy Pride.